Hi, everyone. Welcome to Agent Referral class. Let me see if I can get this to show spotlight video. There we go. As you guys come in from the waiting room, I'm going to ask everybody, I see some people have already done it, to update your name so that it shows not just your name, but also the market that you serve. I know we have a lot of flagship agents in here, but we also have a handful of people from around the country joining us as well tonight. So if you could go ahead and add where you're from, then everybody in the room and when you're talking it through in the chat can see what area you serve. And I'm encouraging everybody to reach out and make connections with everyone who's in the room tonight. My name's Jessica Bush. I'm an agent at the Keller Williams flagship of Maryland office. We're in Millersville, Maryland, and we sit right in the middle of the state. So we're about 20 minutes south of Baltimore and about 20 minutes outside of Annapolis and probably about 45 minutes outside of DC. We have over 500 agents in our office. We have agents licensed in Maryland, Virginia, DC, Pennsylvania, and Delaware. So for those of us joining us from around the country, keep us in mind for referrals in that area. The purpose of this class is to go over building an agent referral network and how to nurture that network, and then how to track your referrals through command. And so for this evening, and I just want to make sure I can see everybody as they're coming in. Awesome. We have people continuing to join us, so we'll give it kind of a couple minutes before we really get into everything. But just a little bit about myself. I've been an agent at Flagship for about going on 4 years now, and about 50% of my business comes from other agent referrals. Actually, everything that I have closing in December came from other agents from around the country. So that's been something that's been a focus of my business for the past 2 years, especially. So why do we do agent referrals? I see a handful of people that I know work in the referral network groups, and I might call some of you out. Mark, I see you right front and center on my screen, and I know I see you getting tagged for Naples all the time. Can I put you on the spot and ask you a little bit about your referral business?
So I've been a full-time agent here for 25 years, and I was a founding member of the first Keller Williams Market Center in Southwest Florida back in 2001. And I'm the sole remaining agent from day one. I was there rolling paint on walls, and I left Coldwell Banker after 6 years. And people said, "You joined what or who?" And because Keller Williams wasn't known in this area at that time. So I've met a lot of agents over the years at Family Reunion and Mega Camp, and particularly in my region or in the state of Florida. So as you mentioned, I get recommendations, but I really want to stress, I never, ever, ever ask anyone to recommend me in the groups. I don't belong to a fan club. I've just networked and I've made connections over the years. So if somebody recommends me in the group, they do it of their own volition. They don't get a prompt from me saying, "Hey, I need help." I feel if I can't earn the referral on my own, then I don't deserve it.
I agree. And that's how I'm building my referral business as well. So when I get tagged in areas, it's agents who have sent me referrals in the past. It's agents that I've met through Family Reunion and Mega Camp and networked with, built a relationship, and nurtured that relationship with. Mark, I'm going to keep putting you on the spot because it looks like so far most of the other agents are in my office. So this is a nice little opportunity for you to get in front of some Maryland agents.
You got Patty here from Chicago.
What's that?
Patty's here from Chicago.
Oh, is Patty here from Chicago? Hi, Patty.
Hello.
Yeah, and I see a handful.
No,
Unfortunately, it doesn't always show me the cities when I've got it on my view.
okay.
So as people are, I notice that our participants number is kind of ticking up slowly. So as you come in, please update your name so that it shows your name and where you're from, so that those of us in the chat and whatnot
You know,
can connect with you later.
in case I have to, if I can't make it to the point where you bring this up, I'd like to just add something now. Is we oftentimes think referrals come from distant areas. In my case, we oftentimes think it's the Northeast or the Midwest states, and we do get a fair amount of those. But statistics show for most of us around the country, there are more people moving from the adjacent county to your area than any other city or state in the country. So while you think the grass is greener someplace else, don't forget your own backyard. So maybe there's an agent that won't come into work in your area that might be a half hour or more away who might want to partner with you for referrals. And likewise, maybe you don't cover their territory. So while you can look at the data that comes through command, bear in mind that data was just recently started to be collected to show where referrals. So if I looked and I saw there was one referral from Chicago, one from Cleveland, from my area, one from Atlanta, it's not the thousands that are searching for homes online. And there was a website available, which is apparently down now. It's called Where Money Moves. And
Okay.
it was census data that was collected over the last 20 years. And it showed the metropolitan service areas and the counties where people are moving to and from. But unfortunately, their website is down, and it has been for about a month or more. And that was a very useful tool for you that you could drill down to see where people. So for my area, I always thought it was New York or New Jersey, maybe Chicago, Minneapolis. And the reality was there were more people that were moving from Miami-Dade, Florida to my area than any place else in the country. So it's not always what you think what the sources are.
Yes. And that was going to actually be a question of mine, is how much movement have you seen into your area since the onset of COVID from
That's a good question.
older climate areas, or New York especially?
We're getting some of that. However, with people and their concerns about travel, I was on a Zoom call yesterday with top local officials, and they're saying that they're finding more people are traveling to our area from a 200-mile radius, that there are not as many people. Airline traffic is down nationwide, excuse me, by at least 40 to 50%. And so more people are driving, and it's that 200-mile radius. So for the next several months, I'm not giving up on the Northeast or the Midwest, but you might want to focus on markets within 200 miles of your market center.
Yeah, agreed. And actually part of the class later on is to look at the migration patterns in command. And like you said, it's still a very new technology. It's not complete just because we're not inputting the data. So part of this class is showing you how to input the data so that we can start tracking it to benefit all KW agents and help us better track where referrals are coming from and where we need to be making those connections. And Mark, to your point, yes, when I look at our particular local area here in Millersville, a lot of our referrals are coming in from the adjoining market centers. So they're either coming from DC, they're coming from market centers in Virginia, areas that are just an hour away. We also see them coming in from even our Baltimore or Annapolis office, just depending on, and even though those two particular offices are only 20 minutes away, and most agents in our market center will do coverage in all of those areas, you get someone who is north of Baltimore and they don't want to come down to Annapolis, or they don't want to go over to the Eastern Shore, and we have somebody here who will. So we see that a lot. And queuing off of that, like I wanted to start the class with, why are agent to agent referrals important? And the first thing I have written on my sheet is taking care of the client. We make referrals for any number of reasons. There's an agent in my office who doesn't want to cross the Bay Bridge. So I do referrals over the Bay Bridge for that particular agent. I've taken referrals in the past year because there's an agent not comfortable working with sales that involve reverse mortgages. These are agents that live in the same neighborhoods that I do. And because the specialty is not something that they're comfortable with, I end up with a referral or other. There's lots of referring that takes place within our market center just for little specifications like that. So really, when making referrals, it's top of mind should be for us is what's in the best interest of the client. Next after that is being able to keep our business within KW and our market centers. So I know that in my particular office, we have a Facebook group, and if somebody's looking for an agent in another area and they're asking in our Facebook group, between me and a couple of other agents in the office that work referrals, we're always tagging in those posts and saying, well, this is my person there. So definitely interview them as well, because I've had success with them helping clients and getting deals closed in that area. And then, of course, increasing your GCI, keeping this, promoting yourself as a global agent, because our offices are global, and being connected with, friends and family around the country. I know I'm not a native Marylander. I'm from Buffalo, New York. I joined the Navy. That's what brought me here. But all of my family and a lot of my friends are in Buffalo. And you better believe I've got a Buffalo referral partner and I am constantly sounding like a broken record to family and friends of like, if you need something for real estate, call me first. And it's just the making sure that they're taken care of, that they're not just calling somebody off of a sign, that they're working with somebody that I trust is going to treat them the same way that I would. But then it's also making sure that at the end of the day, bottom line too, that we're protecting our businesses as well. Does anybody have any questions? Anybody want to jump in and add to those 3 points? Everybody's quiet. Okay. So next, topic of discussion is how to build your network. Like Mark said, he, built a network going to family reunion and mega camp and meeting other agents. That is the number one thing on my list. I started building my network at family reunion a couple of years ago, and from there, stayed connected with the people that I met, spent time with them again at mega camp, and so on and so forth. And yes, Mark.
I was going to say it's not as much about collecting cards, because you could find people standing by the escalator and handing out cards and collecting cards. It's more about building relationships and getting an understanding of who does what. So I see Jose's here from Miami Beach, and he's an instructor in Florida. And so I begin to understand where they are and what they do and how they conduct themselves. Jose's taught classes that I've attended. So I would have confidence in him versus somebody who just handed me their business card at the escalator. So it is building those relationships and getting to know people.
Exactly. And it's also in preparing to go to these events, start doing your research before you go of who you want to meet and who you want to connect with. With my military background, everybody that I served with in the military left Fort Meade and went everywhere. I had friends go to Japan, Florida, Colorado, and up to Connecticut. So everybody dispersed, and then they made connections there of people who then transferred to Fort Meade. And that, has led for business coming in for me. But what it made me realize was I needed to connect with agents near military bases around the country and build meaningful relationships with them, so that when I have a friend going to Pensacola, I know who to call, and anywhere around the country. So that was something, it's being purposeful of who you're going to meet at family reunion and at mega camp. Like Mark said, don't just be standing at the bottom of the escalator handing out your business cards, because those business cards don't even make it into our luggage to come back home with us. Unless we sat down and had a really meaningful conversation over lunch or at a networking event and then exchanged cards, you're likely not finding your way back to Maryland with me. Some things that I've seen agents do at events to further connections is make sure that when you're having a good conversation with an agent at family reunion or mega camp or any conference, send each other friend requests on Facebook and initiate a conversation then about setting up a time to chat over Zoom or on the phone in the weeks afterwards to mastermind about what you learned. Marcus, you took yourself off mute.
I was going to add is there's a book that the well-known author Seth Godin wrote. It's called Permission Marketing. And can you imagine if you came back from family reunion and everybody who you met started giving you calls? So send a text message first. Is there a time when I could give you a call or in the next week, and let them give you permission to call and when it's convenient for them, rather than doing interruption marketing where you're calling while they're getting ready for maybe $1 million listing appointment.
Right. And don't just take their email address off of their business card and put them on your general drip campaign marketing to brand new leads, because I can't tell you the number of client events or newsletters for advertising client events around the country. And I'm like, how am I going to come down to, how am I going to come to LA for this? Or how am I going to come to, wherever for this client event that you're having? I'm sure it's going to be great, but that's not of value to me. And it's just an extra email. So if you are, when you are reaching out, like Mark said, ask for permission, schedule a time to call, do that with regularity. Don't send people invites to things that they're not interested in. So I know I sent out an invite for this, but it went to people who signed up for and attended agent panels over the past couple months. So it's people who already had an interest in building their referral networks. And no one who got that email is going to get an email about my open house this weekend, because I know they don't care. And in turn, for other ways of building your network, in addition to going to KW events, is to join different networking groups, either, in your area. It's really beneficial to join networking groups of agents within your local area. There are a lot of networking groups built within the KW bubble of agents around the country hosting masterminds. We see that a lot. Those have been beneficial. I've been part of a lot of those lately, where it's a small group of agents with specific topics to talk about, and you're getting good information and learning something from those breakouts, but it's also an opportunity for you to connect with other agents around the country and continue to build those relationships. As you're building, and if you don't have a referral partner in a certain area, KW Connect is a great place to look. It allows you to look at agents' stats and their profiles. It shows what their service areas are, and we'll get into that a little bit when we get into command. But then also Facebook has been a good resource too. There are plenty of Facebook mastermind groups. The Bold group is a great place to reach out for new agents. If you're thinking that you're going to need a referral partner in a certain area, it is not a terrible idea to start searching through the Bold group to see who is in that area and look at what they're contributing to the group and reaching out to them. Send a friend request. It's really an easy way to start building relationships. Mark, I see you off mute again.
Yeah, I was just gonna add, if you have somebody maybe who's not in the area where you're looking, but you trust their opinion and you know they both send and receive referrals, reach out to them. So if I didn't know someone maybe in Lantana, Florida, I know Jose's on here, so I might reach out to Jose and say, Jose, you network with a lot of people in the South Florida area. Who would you recommend that I contact? Otherwise, it's just numbers. And Jose can give context to that conversation that a number in a database is going to tell you, but you don't know anything about the agent.
Right.
So
and
if I can help somebody, there's like, I probably know agents in 200 cities in Florida. So if someone called and said, who would you recommend? I might say, well, what are you looking for? Are you looking for a listing specialist, a buyer specialist? Are you looking for somebody that does international, first-time home buyers, global, farm and land? Find a trusted resource.
Exactly. And that's actually for under my section of identifying the correct agent for the client. If I don't know someone in the area that I have a client who needs an agent in, the first place that I go is to my list of trusted referral partners. And there I go through an order of them based on who I know knows the most people and who I trust the most. And I start asking, hey, who do you know in, I don't know, Idaho? Who do you know in just any area, to see who they've worked with and who they've had success with and what that person specializes in, to see if they're a good fit. From there, if I can't find anybody that way, I will look in KW Connect and Command. It's why it's vital. I don't know if everybody realizes this, and we'll go through it later through Command if Connect comes back up, but you actually have two profiles in Command that need to be updated at all times. And sometimes they talk to each other and sometimes they don't. But one is your public profile. It's what pushes to your website. And then you have another profile that shares most of the information, but it also allows you to have service areas. And when agents are looking in Connect for an agent to send a referral to, that's the profile they see. So you want to make sure that you've got a really nice biography written in there about yourself, that your service area is on there. Yes, Mark, make sure it's easy to find your phone number, and make sure it's a phone number that works. I've found phone numbers for agents before to try to call and reach out to them, and I've gotten a busy, like the line is dead, busy signal, got this number has been disconnected. Or I get through, and the biggest pet peeve, and everybody probably knows what I'm about to say, is your voicemail is full. If you want referrals, make sure that your voicemail picks up if you do not. That's the quickest way for somebody to move on to the next agent, is because if I can't reach you, how is the client going to reach you? If I can't leave a message, how's the client going to leave a message? So yes, make sure that it's easy to find your phone number and that it's a working phone number and that you are clearing your voicemails. If you don't have luck on Connect, or maybe you find agents on Connect, but you're not quite sure which one to pick, call their market center, ask their TL, ask anybody on their executive team, who would you recommend between these two agents? I've gotten referrals because somebody an agent called the office and was looking for somebody who had a military background. Well, I do. So that's, that's a way to connect to. Yes, Mark.
I love this topic. In the old days, before we had command, a lot of people would say, well, call the team leader. And the team leader was probably in several appointments. It might take till the end of the day or the next day before they got back to you. So we do have command now. But the other thing about it is, remember, team leaders are trying to, how many hundred people do you have in your market center? And there may be an agent who's capped already versus an agent who hasn't capped. So they want to throw the bone to the agent who hasn't capped yet, or somebody who's about to leave and they're afraid if they don't do something, the grand gesture, they're going to leave. So it might throw the referral to them. So the team leader isn't always the right person. Team leader is good when saying, I've got a choice between this one and that one, and I'm looking for somebody who maybe handles international clients. So lean on the team leader at that point, but start your work in the other areas first.
Yes. And then the last place that I recommend anybody look is on the general Facebook groups. If you post that you are looking for an agent in whatever area, and I so help you if you're looking in my area because there are just so many of us, your phone won't stop ringing. You won't stop getting text messages or emails or Facebook messages from everybody under the sun, and it'll be impossible to decipher the difference between everybody. And like Mark said before, you'll see a bunch of people get their name thrown out there, and you don't always know if it's a fan club or if they're legitimate recommendations. I can say for Mark and myself, we both get tagged a lot. Every time somebody, and a lot of referrals have popped up for Naples in those referral groups over the past few months. And that's why I asked about, how many you're getting from outside of the area, because it's been so prevalent. But I will see Mark get tagged, 10 or 15 times in a post, and he's
don't
done
hold that against me, please. But
and he's done his due. He has paid his dues and he's built his network, and that's why he's getting plugged.
And it's oftentimes not the same people that are recommending me. It's something that you mentioned, Jessica, is the best agent may not be on Facebook at the time you post in the group. They may be out with a client at that time and not check their Facebook until they're through with their appointment or at the end of the day. So lean on the connections that you have for one-on-one recommendations when that's a possibility.
Exactly. And take your time and interview a few agents. Ask a lot of questions. Be prepared to with the questions that you're going to ask the agent. I get, and I'm sure Mark can chime in with some of these too, I get asked, how long have I been an agent? How many houses have I sold in that specific city in the past year? Do I work personally with the client, or am I passing it off to somebody on my team? What's the other one? There's one more, and now I'm drawing a blank on it. It was the first one that I thought of, but you get asked a lot of questions, and they're all good questions. So when you're going for referrals, be prepared to speak to that. How many deals are you doing a year? What does your leverage look like? Who's working the referral? And be prepared to ask those questions, but then also be prepared to answer them. Let's see. But if you are...
New agents can get in on this too. This is not only for seasoned agents. You may come from a background in finance or in corporate business world or entertainment or retail or something, and you might be the perfect match for working with one of my referrals. So don't think that you have to have huge numbers or a huge team to participate, because there are people that don't want a team, that want an individual agent. And there are other people that want the service of a team, just like the team that they are on. So don't dismiss this as only for the seasoned agent.
Right. And we're going to go, we jumped ahead a little bit because the topic just kind of took us there. But when sending referrals, something that I find to be really important when it's me sending out a referral to somebody, and then it's also been helpful for me in receiving referrals, is that that client has been not pre-approved with a lender, but pre-qualified as a legitimate client before being sent out. And what I mean by that is, just because your Uncle Fred said over Thanksgiving dinner that he wants to buy a vacation home in Naples doesn't mean that he actually wants to buy a vacation home in Naples, especially depending on how many beers he's had with dinner. So asking the questions of, like, well, why is that important to you? What's your time? What time frame do you think that you're looking for? Have you been looking at houses online? Asking all of those pre-qualifying questions and getting as much information as possible, so that when you call Mark in Naples and say, hey, I have a referral for you, I'm not just giving him Uncle Fred's number and Uncle Fred is then really mad to get a phone call from Mark. Before you make that
find is that agents want to treat their referrals like a hot potato. They want to get it off their plate as fast as they possibly can, and the first agent who responds is the one they'll give it to, regardless of whether they are the right fit or not.
Exactly. And regardless of whether or not that client is actually going to be a real client. I've had so many agents that are more concerned about getting a yes from me for a referral fee than they are of making sure that the handoff takes place in such a way that promotes success for me actually getting that client to settlement. And you can get agreements on a 25% referral fee all day, but if you don't execute that handoff to the next agent properly, you're never getting that referral. You're never getting that paycheck because that deal's never going to close. So when you're preparing for that handoff, you need to be instilling in that client that they should trust the agent that you are sending them to just as much as they would trust you. And in talking about these particular clients, like, these are family members, these are friends, these are people that you know and have a relationship with. So you should be able to have that conversation with them of, hey, Uncle Fred, you really want to buy this condo in Naples, and Mark is a fantastic agent. I've done deals with him before. He's going to take great care of you. You should trust him just as if you were trusting me to help you buy a condo in Annapolis. And that conversation should take place before the handoff. As part of the handoff, where did my notes go? Sorry, I thought I lost a page. Is build the trust, but also get permission. So before I give Uncle Fred's phone number and email address to Mark, I'm asking, I've built that trust. I've said, you can trust Mark just as much as you would trust me. Is it okay if he reaches out to you to connect and ask you questions about your home search? And then when you get that yes, you pass on phone number and email, of course, with some extra stuff involved too, but just as this example. And then we're trusting Mark is going to reach out as soon as possible and make that connection. When you're sending over, and we'll go through this in command, when you're passing over the client information, KW's made it really easy for us in command. You can send it over as a referral, where it tracks the referral fee, Uncle Fred's name and phone number and email address, all of his contact information. And then you can also write notes about what you've already discussed with him. Give that agent you're sending the referral to as much information as possible that you've collected, so that when they call, they're educated on that client's needs. And they're still asking all of those pre-qualifying questions, but it gives them a basis to go off of so that they can start building rapport right away. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Hey, Jess,
Yes.
I love that you said, I'm going to get permission for the other agent to call, because if we leave it for the buyer or the seller to call, we've lost impact. Sorry, my dog agrees with me. We've lost that impact. So keeping the ball in the agent's court your conversion rates will go up.
Yes. And if
So
we
thank you for
just,
that tip.
yep. And if we just give the client, the agent information, who knows what else they're going to do. They may be hesitant to reach out, but then they're also looking online at 3 o'clock in the morning and filling out those information requests on Zillow and realtor.com. And then suddenly there's some random agent that's just paying a premium for leads, reaching out to them, and then you've lost them. So getting the permission for the other agent to reach out and having that other agent reach out as soon as possible is key. Yes, Mark.
It's a matter of educating the person that you're referring to. This is how it's going to work. And the agent that I'm referring to you is going to help you, but you have to trust in them. And please don't contact a developer in advance, because if you do that, you preclude that agent from working and representing you in the community. So people, especially in my area, they may start thinking about coming here 3 months beforehand, and they're online, as you say, Jessica, at 2 or 3 in the morning, and they're registering on every developer's website. And then when I bring the client in, they say, I'm sorry, they're already registered with us.
Yep. We see that here with new construction, where if that client has reached out for information, they may as well not walk in with an agent, because that builder is not going to respect that relationship if they've already got them in their database. Very good point. Thank you, Mark. No, Diane, we want to see your pretty face. So I do cover a little bit of how much of a referral fee to charge or ask for. I'm not going to get preachy on that. But what I will say is, while that other agent wouldn't have the business without your referral, you wouldn't have the referral commission without them. And I will throw it back to a bold script that we have of negotiating commissions with clients or potential clients of 1/3 of my commission goes to taxes, 1/3 of it goes to expenses, and 1/3 of it puts food on my table. Which 1/3 of it would you like me to throw away? We practice objection handling of protecting our value with consumers. And then we go into the referral groups and ask for ridiculous referral fees from our colleagues. So keep that in mind when you're asking for referrals, or when you're trying to capture a referral in a Facebook group and you're saying that you'll pay a little bit more for it. You're just devaluing yourself, so don't do it. If we were going to discuss numbers, 25% seems to be the number that goes around the most often. I've always found it to be the most fair. If it's a rental referral, I don't ask for anything. Not all markets have rental price points where working with an agent or where agents working with tenants is something that happens. And our rental prices are high enough where a lot of tenants can have agent representation, and we get paid a commission on that. But again, that number is so small still that if we're sending out rental, clients to somebody, not asking for a referral fee. And then also, if you're running marketing that's generating leads that could be sent to your referral partners, make an agreement with them ahead of time, but keep in mind that like an internet lead that you may capture is going to take a lot more time nurturing than your Uncle Fred, who you specifically introduced to Mark for a very specific purpose and has expressed motivation to actually move. So that in those instances, I would say that maybe you might be asking for a little bit less of a referral fee and probably establishing relationships prior to having that lead for who it would benefit. Anybody want to chime in with that? I saw, Mark, I saw you go off mute and then back on mute. So I think you wanted to add something.
You know, I heard Mo Anderson when she was speaking on it. I don't forgot whether it was Family Reunion, Mega Camp, or on her book tour, but her point of view, and it was when I joined Keller Williams in 2001, it was on the referral form on the second page that the standard for Keller Williams was 20%. And she railed in an audience. She said, you shouldn't be asking for any more than 20%. All you did was give somebody a name. So in my market, you know, it takes more effort to find a property for somebody under $200,000. We simply just don't have much available. And yet somebody's going to ask for 25 or 30%. So in our market, it's 20% on lower end properties, simply because we're going to spend more time working with them than we would somebody at a higher price point.
Exactly. And that's something to keep in mind too, is price points of areas. I mean, I'm just going on who I can see at the top, and Diane was the last to talk, but Diane, you can chime in if you want and attest to this. In our market, if you go into Baltimore, you're looking at row homes that are $50,000. I closed a referral at 115 yesterday. And in those instances, asking for, you know, getting a 20% or maybe even a 15% referral fee is probably way more appropriate. So
Yeah.
when you're asking for referral fees, it should fall in line with the price point of the client as well.
Yeah, and in those cases, Jessica, just like what you had mentioned, there are times when I'll give a $50,000 row home to somebody and not charge a commission, and just say, the next time you have something in the Annapolis area, just please think of me, because I believe that what you give comes back to you. $50,000 is hard to work for, to give 25% of that commission away. So I think the goodwill will take you a long way as well.
Exactly. And people will remember that as well. So it's all about building relationships and trust with other agents and your clients. So that's a big thing. So I touched on this part a little bit for receiving referrals. And now my notes are reminding me of the one thing that I forgot. So I said, you know, when receiving referrals, interview that agent back. You know, be prepared to talk on your numbers, how many houses you've sold in that particular area, how many buyers you're working with, how many listings you're currently carrying, what does your leverage look like? Are you going to be working with the client personally, or are they going to also be working with a member of your team? Like, keeping in mind, a lot of us have showing assistants, or we're building big teams, and maybe we want to, you know, feed our buyer's agents with leads when they come in with the referrals. I will say, a lot of agents, when they're sending a referral, it's important that the agent they refer to is the one who actually sees the client through the process. So keep that in mind when you're receiving referrals. But something that I do that not a lot of others do is I interview the agent back. I start asking questions about the client. Have you pre-qualified them? What's their motivation? What's their time frame? What's their price point? Have they spoken to a lender yet? If they haven't spoken to a lender, when I introduce myself, will it be okay if I also introduce my lender partner? You know, ask, how much do you know about what the client's looking for? Have they talked to you about house type, how many bedrooms, how many bathrooms they need? All of those questions that we would ask a client when we're first meeting them. Don't be afraid to ask that agent and get as much information from them as possible about that particular buyer or seller, so that when you reach out, you can say, hey, so Mark asked me to reach out. He said that you're looking to buy a 5-bedroom, 2.5-bath, single-family home in Annapolis, and that, you know, this is that you're able to go up to 700,000 and that you're going to be moving here in June. Does all of that sound about right? And it's letting that client know when you reach out that you and Mark have actually talked and that he didn't just pull your name out of a hat to get a referral fee. So it reinforces that trust that the referring agent placed in you when speaking to the client. So get all that information. It also though helps you to figure out, does that agent making the referral actually know that this is going to be a legitimate client and a legitimate transaction? Or did Uncle Fred, after 5 beers on Thanksgiving, just say that he wanted to buy a condo in Annapolis or in Naples or wherever, and someone thought, ooh, I can get some commission out of this. So it's looking out for yourself as well and protecting your time and protecting your value while also taking care of the client and building and reinforcing that trust between the two agents sharing the referral. And ask about the referral fee too. I like to, before the other agent can even ask if I'm okay paying out a 25% referral fee, I'm usually hopping in and saying, so I usually pay out a 25% referral fee. Is that okay with you? Or to what Mark said, if the price point is lower, addressing that, getting ahead of it and saying, so in this area, the price points are lower. It takes a lot longer to get a client into a house. Are you okay with a 20% referral fee? And at the end of all of that, don't be afraid to turn down a referral, especially if you're being interviewed, battling it out in one of the Facebook groups, if it's not going to be an ideal situation. If the agent is asking for a 35% referral fee on a $100,000 row home in Baltimore, it's probably not a good use of my time to be running that buyer all around Baltimore for something that may never close. We may never find the right fit. And that's an awfully big referral fee. Yes, Mark.
What I oftentimes tell agents who send buyer referrals is, if I'm not the best suited agent for this buyer, I'll be the first one to introduce you to the agent who is. So in my area, if somebody's looking for horse farms or areas, which we have some, I'm not the right person for that. There are others that specialize in that. Or if somebody's a real, like a scratch golfer and wants to have information, and all the details, I don't play golf, so I may not be the best person for them, but you'll build more of a reputation for integrity and honesty by either partnering with another agent or referring the original agent to somebody in your market's area that can better serve them.
Yep, absolutely. Last thing I wanted to tackle before I pull up Command and do a screen share and walk you through the referrals tab is the battling it out on social media. Because I know, just looking from the names in our participants group, we're all in those Facebook groups and we're in a lot of them. And we see the mass number of comments that come through with being tagged and suggested for referrals when those are there. Yes, John, you too. John, I didn't know you were in here. John, do you want to pop in and say hi and introduce yourself?
Hey, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Can you hear me? Good.
Yes.
Good. Yeah, I got in a little late. I was doing a little shopping with the family.
Gotcha.
The Facebook groups are their trip.
They're my favorite phrase for it is feeding frenzy.
Yeah, totally. I like what Gary calls it, the mafia.
Yep. And like what Mark was saying earlier was that some of the people that get tagged are fan clubs,
Mhm.
and you never really know the difference. And that's why it's important to interview multiple agents. But if you make a connection with somebody who posted on Facebook for your area, be prepared. Like, I keep text message scripts saved on my phone. I have my elevator speech prepared. If I get somebody on the phone, I know what I'm going to leave in a voicemail.
Mhm.
If I don't get them on the phone, of just a little bit about yourself, making that introduction, and knowing your numbers, especially when you get someone on a phone. And then also in the Facebook groups, John and I have sent each other referrals in the past year, and we're constantly tagging each other in the Facebook posts. We don't do it because we're part of some little fan club. We do it because we've done business with each other and can legitimately say, I recommend this person. And make sure you're shouting out your referral partners. If you're scrolling through Facebook and you see somebody asking for an agent in an area that one of your partners serves, jump in and say their name. Give them that little shout out. Even if they don't end up capturing that referral, they know that you're looking out for them. And it's reminding them of, like, oh yeah, like, every time, someone needs an agent, Chicago, who's Jessica typing about?
Yeah, if I could chime in for just a second, Jess, I think that everything you're saying is 100% accurate. And there is a huge case to be made, and I think Mark just hit on it a little bit ago too, about being honest and keeping in your integrity.
Yeah.
For an example, I mean, Chicagoland is huge. I mean, I could literally tell you I service an area that's 50 miles from where I live, and I do, and I have. Am I an expert in all those areas? No, not so much. But I can speak as an expert on anything close here in the city and in this close in suburbs. So I am more than willing to stay in that integrity and make sure that my suburban referral partners, and I think some of them might actually be on here or were on here before I got on, that they get the opportunity. Why? Because that's their wheelhouse.
Exactly.
And I think that the referral opportunities are the best ones that really focus in your core area. And if you're going out to areas that you have served or serve intermittently, I think you're disserving yourself and probably disserving your referral partner and the client by portraying yourself as an expert in those areas.
Yes, I agree. And I'll say within our market center, there's agents who will go to certain parts of the state that I don't go to. So even though I'm in the group and I might get tagged in that post because people see Maryland and they just write my name, I'll be the first one to be like, actually, you should be talking to this person and doing it within that post.
That's exactly how we did business this year.
Yep. Yes, because you needed, just outside of Baltimore, and John Reynolds was more suited for that than I was. So there is how you and he ended up working together.
Mm-hmm.
We also have adopted several of us within the market center have kind of adopted an informal policy of, if it's an area where two of us serve and one of us gets to it first, we back that person up.
Oh, nice.
Because it's, to us, better to just build each other up instead of compete with each other and just add to the noise.
I'd like to add to that too, because I agree with you. We have some people in our market center, and a lot of them are, you're going to see the same names.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things I like to say is we all know. So I don't know if you've ever seen when I've done this. I've said most of us that you're seeing, I'll write this in the page, is most of us that you're seeing all know each other and we're all friends. All we want to do is interview, and then you can choose who you want to work with.
Right. So there's been times where within Annapolis, I'm sending a group text to myself and another agent in my office who got tagged a few more times, a little bit sooner than I did, and say like, hey, we work in the same market center, we cover the same service area, but I saw that the two of you connected first, and I just want to hop in and vouch for that person because you'll be serving your client well to make that referral.
That'll all come back to you in the end.
And it does, yes. So it's that building that relationship within your own market centers and around the country.
Absolutely. Reputation is everything.
Reputation is everything, and leading with integrity, like you said, is a big deal. Yes, Mark.
It reminds me is that sometimes the referring agent is asking for multiple names, and they're giving the buyer or the seller multiple names. So you need to clarify with somebody up front about, am I going to be the only one, or are you giving additional names out? Because especially with a buyer, you might start going down the path. If you don't ask the question of the buyer, are you working with anyone else? Then all of a sudden you're investing quite a bit of time. The referring agent is expecting a referral commission, and then all of a sudden the buyer is working with another agent that's not going to pay a referral fee. So better to clarify all that up front.
Yeah. I'll say something that happened to me recently was I was under the impression that I was receiving a listing referral, and the referring agent helped facilitate an introduction. We set a time to talk. I went into the phone call under the impression that I was just touching base, asking a few questions about the house and the seller's need and scheduling a time to go out and have a proper listing appointment. Instead, I entered a phone call with the referring agent on it that was a full-on interview, and the referring agent was taking calls with the potential client, interviewing agents. I saw John say, wow, up at the top. And so, it threw me off, and I was able to recover a little bit, but I hung up the phone and thought, the audacity. Like, interview the agent that before you send the client their way. Let the agent that you're making the referral to know that you are sending out, that you're giving the client multiple names to let them conduct their own interviews. Be courteous like that, because it doesn't help the situation at all if you're telling your seller, hey, I'm referring these agents to you, and you should trust them. And then they get on the phone and that other agent has no idea that you actually gave that seller 3 other people and they're being interviewed in that way. It's not a good look for anybody. So don't do that. And that was this week. That was not a pleasant phone call. Okay. Before I do screen share and go to command, any comments, questions, concerns about what we've covered so far? Okay, I see everybody saying unmute. Oh, Mark.
Learn a little bit about geography. So if someone says, well, I want to move, and I see John and Patty is here on the call, I'll use you as an example. I want to move to Chicago, or I want to move to Atlanta. Well, drill down a little bit more, because those are huge areas, and not as John would say, or I'm sure Patty would say, they may not serve all of Chicago. So ask the question, and then before you start looking for an agent, try to figure out on a map, where is that? Is it in downtown, or is it in a suburb?
That's the thing, Mark. You hit the nail right on the head. People think of big cities like Chicago or Los Angeles as, it's all Chicago, it's all Los Angeles. It's actually a greater metro area.
Right.
Same with Baltimore.
Same with Baltimore. And people don't realize all the time that Baltimore is actually 2 counties. We've got Baltimore City and Baltimore County. And a lot of our areas are relatively close to each other, but Baltimore varies neighborhood to neighborhood. Baltimore varies street to street. I mean, Diane can chime in and attest to this. And I saw Carmen Johnson's on the call, but I doubt she'll turn on her camera and talk to us, even though we love her so much. But, you know, Baltimore is its own, like, you can go just by neighborhood of who's going to be the better agent for that area and what they serve. And, you know, Mark said, pick up a map. We carry a map around in our pocket all the time. So there is no excuse before you make a referral to, even if you're putting in the city for the referral and then and doing directions from the office of that agent and seeing what is that drive time. And ask, and then deciding from there, am I going to ask this agent if they know somebody maybe a little bit closer? All right, so let's see. Share screen. So before we get into command, there's an image that I have saved in my email, and I can send this out to anybody who wants it. I post this on Facebook a lot, especially before events. This is a great image to use on Facebook or on Instagram. It says, moving somewhere that I don't service, here are all the places that I can refer you to another agent. And it says here inside of every single state. And I also like to add on to this, like the list of countries that we have offices in. Within our market center, I referred an agent in Spain recently. I've got friends in Paris. We've added offices everywhere. So this has started conversations for me with friends of mine who live back in Buffalo, or military friends that are down in Florida or have moved to Texas. This is a great post to make on your Facebook of, you know, moving somewhere that I don't service. Well, I can help you there. So this, and I can get it out. I see the chat box like lighting up. Now that I've shown this, let me pull up the chat box real quick to see what everybody's saying. Yes, everybody is saying yes. Okay, cool. I can make that happen. And I've also posted on my Facebook. So if you wanted to take the time to scroll through pictures, like, feel free to steal it. I know as agents, we all steal content from each other all the time. And it's perfect because we don't, I mean, aside from seeing it a million times because we're friends with a million realtors, your other Facebook friends are not also friends with a whole bunch of other realtors, especially KW ones. So while it's annoying all the agents on your friends list, it's not annoying the people that it's meant for. So steal and share. Okay. Now to command and things that we've seen being built in command is the referrals tab that I just love. So it's this little person inside the little map dot, and it takes you to your dashboard, which for some reason, these numbers are never right. And when you go to referrals, it's showing that I have none, but I do have some. And I'm actually going to pull up one that was funded recently. Let's see. Where is, maybe it's gone. I had it earlier. Oh, here's one. So this was a closed referral that I had. This was a seller referral from recently, and this is what it looked like when it came through to me. She wasn't sure of what the price range would be on the sale of the house because, again, she's not familiar with the market, but she was able to give me a time frame, had the referral fee in here, client's name, phone number, and email address, and whether or not they were pre-approved. This was a seller, so who was moving to her area. What I really liked about this and what I love about Command and sending out referrals through it is that you can send updates to the agent through here, and it saves everything that you wrote. So when she first sent the referral, I, put in a note to her. I've reached out and left a message, followed up with a text and email, let you know when we make contact, had the listing appointment, gave an update because this all took place during COVID, we were able to do office exclusive listings. So we had an office exclusive listing while they did a little bit of cleaning out of the house. We went live on the market, updating her on how many showings we'd had. We're under contract. Here's when settlement is. And then can you email me your W-9 so I can make sure that you get the referral? But all of this was done within Command. And the tool is continuing to build so that we can see it through eventually through the opportunity and the commissions tab when the commissions tab is ready for us to go. So when you're making a new referral, and let's see, who do I want to make the referral to? Diane, are you in my thing? Okay, we'll just walk through it and I won't put in any of the agent information. But for you to be able to make the referral in Command, that agent needs to be in your referral network. So if you have to find agent, and it took me to the map, but you can search for your agents. It's easier right now to do this through Kelly because you can type in find associate and then put the agent name and then add them as a referral. Or as a referral partner. Once they're in your network, you can send the referral this way. So you pull up the agent information. Yes, John, it does work very well. You select whether or not they're a buyer, seller, tenant, or landlord. You put in the referral fee, acceptance deadline. I normally bump this out all the way to 96 hours just to give that agent time to get, in front of it. You can put in the minimum price point and the maximum price point, and then notes. You've got 3,000 characters to give that agent as much information as possible about the client that you're referring to them. It used to be that you had to already have the client in as a contact in your database before you could send the referral. Now it's a select from your database, or you can create a new contact, and it creates a new contact for you and you fill out all of the client information. And you give, if it's a seller or you have the client's current address, you can provide that too. For buyers, you put in desired location, phone number, email address. And then for transaction timeline, this is based on what you think their time frame is before they close. And then for sellers, it's all of the same information as well, but you're providing also the address so that that agent knows what house they need to sell. When this gets sent and shows up, you can, when you have received the referral in, through that referral, you can actually create an opportunity. There's a button to create opportunities, and I don't have any sitting in pending right now to demonstrate that with. But once you've accepted a referral, you can create an opportunity based on that. And it takes you to the opportunities tab, and that referral stays with the opportunity for the life of the transaction. So as we continue to build and grow in Command, we'll be able to take it from referral to commissions tab, where your referral is being factored in to the to your commissions at the end. Other aspects of That's how to send a referral. When you receive one, it's a matter of it pops up on the screen. It has all of the information and you click accept. Does anybody have any questions on how to put together a referral in Command? Because I know I just went through that really quick, but it's a fairly simple process. Diane, I saw you come off mute. And we're back on mute. Okay.
Yeah, there we go. I had a question about Command and now I'd forgotten what it was. Oh, so I don't use Command. Let me preface that by saying I don't use Command very much yet, but is Command only KW to KW?
Yes.
Okay.
So this is if you're sending and receiving a referral within KW. If you're not, it depends on your individual market center. For ours, when I'm receiving referrals out from agents outside of KW, they are sending over a PDF of their office's referral form, and then I'm sending it to our MCA, so Val and Malia, to get it in front of Wendy or Barry to sign off on. And that's so again, because we've got agents from all over the place, but if you're in the flagship market center, policy is in accepting a referral that it has to be signed off on by Barry or Wendy. So when I'm getting those from outside of KW agents, where I'm getting it over to Val and Malia to sign or have signed, and then they get it back to me.
Okay.
And those referral agreements, those PDF ones, those paper ones, should have all of the same information on them. And they generally do. For our area, I think ACAR has a referral agreement form for when we're sending out referrals, and it shows just a breakdown of client information, the sending office's information and the receiving office's information. But the lines at the bottom always say broker, because keep in mind, when you're paying out referral fees, it's not your money, it's your broker's money.
What prompted that, a couple of years ago, I gave a referral to an agent, well-respected agent in the area in which he served. He left brokerage, didn't tell me, didn't respond to my emails for checking in on the person that I was sending to him. And then I tracked him down. It had already settled, and he didn't reach out to me. And he said, sorry, I don't owe you a commission, because that agreement was sent between your broker and my broker, my old brokerage, but it didn't close under that brokerage. It closed under a different one. So I don't owe you a commission. I got my commission, needless to say, but can you even imagine someone doing that?
I can guarantee you got your commission.
I got that commission. If it was $4, I would have gotten that commission because of that. But I was floored that somebody with the caliber of business that he did, that he would try something like that. Bad karma is right, John. I reminded him of that.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's why that broker thing is really important to have signed. And on the bottom of mine that I customize, it says, if you are to leave the brokerage, please give us a courtesy and let us know, but it's being paid by whatever. So yes, Chris, you're right.
Yes, Chris. And that's probably why they left KW, because they were clearly not in culture. So it's like what John said, lead with integrity. If you're going to accept a referral and then change brokerages midway through the transaction, integrity states that you still are paying out that referral fee. So the last thing that I wanted to go over, and this is something that Mark mentioned earlier, is still in its infant stage. And this is going to become smarter as we feed it. So this is why it is important when you're sending referrals out and when you're receiving them to have them documented through Command, because that feeds the referral migration patterns on our map. And I just love this tool, and hopefully it works. So let's see. Let's see, received. Okay, so this is a map of where the referrals being sent to the Millersville, Maryland Market Center, so that's flagship, where they're coming from around the country. And like Mark was saying earlier, he sees in his area referrals coming in from under 200 miles away because the local market centers are referring to each other based on the areas served and the client's needs. So we see here, you know, Annapolis is 15 minutes down the road from us. It's not far from our office. It's where a lot of the agents in our office do most of their business. A lot of the agents in our office live in Annapolis, but yet we see, you know, of the referrals being sent to our office, 8% of them are coming from Annapolis, 7% are coming from Ellicott City, which is just right. It doesn't even show on the map because it's right just north of us. Frederick, which is a little bit further out in the state. So those are the top ones. In Columbia, which again is just outside of Millersville. It's 20 minutes up the road. DC is about 45 minutes away from us. Chantilly is probably a little over an hour. Depending on traffic, sometimes way more than that. But then you start to see other areas too. So you see.
So when you see 1% and 2%, those are out of 195 referrals. If you see top 20 above from 195 results. So that's like one referral from Chantilly or Augusta, Georgia. Maybe it's 2 from Washington, D.C. So if you're going to focus on areas, focus on that, on the numbers that have the highest percentage.
Right. And again, keep in mind that this is only as accurate as the information that we're putting into it. So something that I preach is if you're sending out a referral to another KW agent, you should absolutely be sending it through command, regardless of whether or not you are super comfortable in command or using it regularly, because this is only going to help you. You can also switch this referral pattern and look at where are referrals being sent to around the country from our market center. And that can help you too with establishing where you need to be making friends around the country. Like I'm looking at San Antonio. So San Antonio makes sense for our area because there's a military base in San Antonio, and a lot of the military members that are going to San Antonio are also going to Fort Meade. And also for dual military families, a lot of there's only a handful of commands where I'll use the Navy as an example because that's my branch. But if you've got one spouse that's Navy and another spouse that's Army, they are hopping back and forth between Fort Meade and San Antonio. So it would be and I'm talking to the flagship agents right now, it would be in your best interest to have a friend in San Antonio. Just because of the movement between the military bases. Let's see where else we've got here. So we've got San Diego. San Diego's another big one with Navy. That's another one of our big bases. So that's, something to keep an eye on, is knowing also what's going on in your area that is affecting these migration patterns. I don't know if it still shows up as prominently here, but you can look at any city. So depending on what your service area is and how many market centers are in your general area, for us, there are so many that are all so close to each other that it's helpful for us to do this, is to look to see who are, where are the referrals coming in from Baltimore, and where are the referrals coming in from that are going to Annapolis. This one, it's changed a little bit. but we see a lot of Florida sending Baltimore referrals, and this could be because people are moving from Baltimore to Florida, but they're reaching out to an agent in Florida first, and then that agent is making the referral up here. What we saw this time last year and pre-COVID were a lot of referrals coming from the Tacoma, Washington area to Baltimore. And we saw that because Amazon had opened up in Baltimore and was getting ready to open up in Baltimore, and they were sending their current employees here. So those people we saw referrals coming in because those people were looking for housing in the area. So this map can show you, and as we continue to build it, this map can show you where you should be making friends around the country. It should help you looking at, just local news and knowing what's opening and where is that driving people from. Mark and I were talking a little bit at the beginning of class before some people popped in about how many people is he actually seeing coming from the Northeast down to Florida. He said that hasn't been that much because he sees more people moving within the local area or moving from one part of Florida to another. But again, this map and this technology is only as good as we make it. So I cannot say enough, if you're sending a referral to another KW agent, which you should be, please track it in Command. I've actually asked KW agents that I've received referrals from recently, can you send that to me in Command? And I've been told no a couple times, that they just prefer to do the paper. And it's like, well, it helps this. So can you please do that? Let's see what I've got in chat. Yes. Oh, I think we did see some of them coming from Atlanta. Yes, Chris. Does anybody have any questions on how this map works? And feel free to chime in because I'm the one manning the chat box. So I end up pulling it up on the screen. And yes, I agree, Diana. A lot of people don't know that Command tracks this, or like that this map exists in Command, and they also don't know that you can send your referrals through Command and track referral fee and all of that. We finished pretty early for all of we went off topic a couple times and we still finished pretty early, but that was what I had for this evening. So if anybody has any questions, wants to chime in, now would be the time. And please stop doing it in the chat box. We want to hear your voices.
Okay, Jess. I'm wondering, and I'll ask my MCA this, and I'll get back to you with an answer. I wonder if the MCAs can help folks who are resistant to putting that stuff into Command. I wonder if through their accounting software, which I know nothing about, I'm a user, not a programmer, can help us build that map.
Yeah, that would be helpful. From what I've seen so far in just my own personal use of it, there's no moving backwards. So if you create an opportunity, before I realized you could take it from referral to opportunity, I would just create the opportunity, and then I noticed the button. And so I went back and tried to see if I could backtrack in some of those opportunities that had been created. And there's no doing that. So it's the making sure that agents are aware that there is a flow to the process, and maybe down the line adding it to, so, okay, we can link this referral afterwards. But for right now, with how the system works, it's making sure that you're tracking that, you're creating that referral in Command first, and then going from that referral and creating an opportunity and then starting your transaction.
You can't get paid. I don't know what other market centers are doing it this way, but we can't get paid without an opportunity.
Nope,
And
we can't.
so, yeah. And so if you have to have it as a referral, I mean, it forces you to do it.
Yeah. But what I'm saying is for right now, once you've
Yeah.
created the opportunity, if you haven't linked it to the referral, you've got to enter all of that in manually.
Gotcha.
But this will help us in the end when we get to where the commissions tab is functioning for everybody instead of green sheets where that referral is tracked and that's one less step that you have to do. And it's nice because it's pulling, it should ideally pull all of that agent's market center information into the opportunity and then into the commissions tab.
Yeah.
Because right now, even with sending the referrals in command, we still have to get that other agent's tax ID number for their office to be able to send out a referral.
Mm-hmm.
Hi, Barry.
Thank you for doing
Yes,
it.
I had a question if I may. I apologize if you spoke to this at the beginning. My listing appointment went long. How does everybody feel about communication once a referral was given? Keep it either you giving updates to the agent who referred business to you or that you are referring out to somebody. What do you think is an appropriate amount of communication, if any?
So for me personally, I believe that the agent who received the referral should be taking more onus on keeping in communication. However, the agent making the referral should also be reaching out and asking questions too, especially if you're not hearing anything. For me, I reach out at milestones. Like you saw in that one particular referral, when I made first contact, I documented it, and documenting it in command where it's timestamped. So should something go awry, you have a log of everything that you've done. But also, letting that agent know what's going on. Like, hey, I went on the listing appointment. We're going, we're scheduling photos and going live this day. Command makes it really easy for us to do that. And keeping in mind that when somebody's sending you a referral, they're often trusting you with a friend or a family member. So you should be keeping them updated. And really, to me, that onus falls on the agent receiving the referral. But again, for the agent sending out the referral, that's your friend, that's your family member. You want to make sure that you're involved in the conversation as well in a hands-off way, so you're not interfering or offering advice that may be applicable in our market but not to another market, and keeping updated. And that you can ask the client, but I would also be asking the other agent, so that keeping communication, like both agents should be keeping communication with each other to show that you're both part of the same team for that client. Because even though you're not working it, you're still, looking out for that client.
And that's what we do too, the milestones. So we do, we are getting ready to go live. We're under contract, appraisal's good, home inspection's good, and then we closed. So that's the amount that we communicate. And I want to make sure that, and I haven't had anybody say that's too much, don't communicate with me that much. But I've also been on the other side where they don't communicate at all, which to me is frustrating, that they don't let you know what's going on when you're checking in.
Right. Yeah. And I'd say the same way that you would check in with, like the same timeframes that you would check in with a client. Because as we see sometimes where we'll get through home inspection and appraisal really quickly, and then we're just waiting for closing to happen, and there's nothing to really talk about there. So just doing the check-in of, hey, we're still a week and a half out, but I just wanted to let you know I spoke to the lender and he said we're on track to settle. Like that same update you're giving to the client, give to the referring agent too.
Jess, I have a quick question about the opportunity, if I can backtrack a little bit.
Yes.
Do you do an opportunity when it's an outgoing referral also?
No.
Okay.
So when it's an outgoing referral, all we're doing is You don't have to create an opportunity for it. You don't have to do a green sheet to get paid. We're emailing Malia, basically letting her know that we're expecting a referral and who we're expecting it from. And then again, in terms of like getting updates, when that agent tells you that it's settled, then we're able to, let our individual MCAs know, hey, this settled. We should be getting a check in the mail in the next week, so that they're on the lookout for it.
Okay, so when you send the referral through command, it's not going anywhere outside of my own.
It lives in your
agent.
command and then the receiving agent's command. Yes.
Okay, and then as we get closer to settlement, that's when I let Malia know that I'm expecting a referral.
Yep. Usually same time frame of when we're, doing green sheets and requesting DAs, like the week before settlement, just so that she knows to look for it.
Hey, Jessica, it's Chris in Atlanta.
Hey, Chris.
I wanted to agree with you and I forget who just mentioned it about communication. I use the same thing with the deadlines. I've never had another agent say it was too much. Most often the response is, wow, no one else does that.
Yeah.
Which then sets you apart, which then even gets you more referrals, because then they tell their other agents in their office, hey, listen, I know a great guy in Atlanta, great communication skills, talk to him. So I really think there's an advantage. I'll turn my screen on.
Oh.
I think there's an advantage to more communication than less. I just really believe that, especially when it's a long-term nurture. When it's something that, you might send someone a referral, but the plan is 1 month, 2 months, but it can be pushed back because of financing stuff. They get to get their credit in order.
Exactly.
So dropping someone a referral or receiving one and just thinking, well, their friends communication with them, it's not always the case.
No.
Sometimes they just trust their friends are in good hands, leave it alone. It's your job to remind them, hey, your friend's doing great, working on credit, working on this, or this market's tight. They're not finding what they want in the city, but we'll keep looking. We're going out. Here's what we're doing. So to me, the more communication will always work and get you more referrals.
Right. I mean, it's the same principle with working with clients is there's really no such thing as over communicating with giving updates and stuff. So agreed. And to Chris, to what you said, like you can't really make the assumption that just because they're friends or family that they're getting updates, because they may not be. And also, how does that look on you building that relationship with that agent or maintaining that relationship with that agent if the only updates they're getting about the referral they gave you is coming from the client? And do you really want, say, something is going sideways in a transaction and that client is upset? Do you really want that referring agent to hear the bad news from the client instead of from you, who can approach it with a, hey, we got a low appraisal, but this is what we're doing to address it and to solve the problem.
Exactly right. The other thing is,
I had a, I'm sorry, go ahead, Chris.
I'll do my one last thing. My experience is the agents who don't want to use command for referrals or agents who don't prioritize referrals as part of one of their 3 things. So I try to get agents to send me things on command, but they just either A, they don't use command, or B, they're just not their thing. So they're almost like one-off transactions. It's not worth them learning command in the referral tab when they only send a few referrals out. I think it's our job then, if referrals are one of our things, is to try to teach them the best we can, because once you learn how to do it correctly, it helps a lot. So that's just my opinion.
Agreed. No, I agree with you. Diane?
Yep. I was starting to say something, wasn't I? Let
I'm
me
sorry.
think.
Forget it already.
I'll jump in if you,
I'm
Diane.
52 years old.
You're young
What
yet.
did I say?
Going back to
Oh, I
some
know.
things
I had a referral. This speaks, Chris, directly to what you were saying about communication and how I think it's so important. I had somebody who had referred me business, a listing, and he ended up having mental problems, and it was very, very challenging. And I always get nervous when you get a referral and you don't know if the person who referred you knows about that challenge. And, you know, you need to be careful because you've got a relationship with the person, and it's confidential. Some of that conversation is confidential. So anyway, I shared with my son, I just wanted to let you know that this is a little bit challenging, and I'm trying to use, you know, I was trying to be very careful, but because of the communication I had with him the entire time, he trusted what I was saying when I'm like, your friend is nuts, nut job, like crazy person. But because of the communication, he trusted me. But had I just thrown that out once at the end when everything has gone sideways, there's just not that trust level. So I think that it just proves to you your credibility as a professional, that you are doing everything you can to keep this together, but you've got a really challenging situation on the other end. So that could have gone sideways, but because of the communication, it didn't.
Can I add something?
Yes, Mark.
Mark?
A couple things. One is, if you're referring a buyer, ask the referring agent if they use it, that you're referring to, do they use an exclusive buyer representation agreement, and prepare the buyer that just like you, they're going to, this agent is going to be expecting you to sign an exclusive buyer representation agreement. Because especially in going to different markets, they may have already sought out other agents online. And so you make it easier for the agent that you referred them to bring that conversation up. And then when you're sending a listing, it could be for a buyer as well, is how good is that agent about negotiation and pricing? Because I've seen agents who've received referrals in my area and they underpriced a property clearly. They could have gotten more in the end. So do they overprice and then continually knock it down over a longer period of time, or do they underprice it when the seller could have gotten more?
Yep. Agreed. There was something that I was going to add based on what Diane said, and now I can't remember what it was. Diane, I think I have a case of whatever it is you have.
You don't have the 52-year-old part.
But it was about, you know, keeping the other agent updated, presenting as a team for that client. And goodness, it was something in line with what you said about keeping in communication, so that if something goes crazy with a client, or you have a client that person ends up being unreasonable, that you've kept that communication so that it's not a surprise. So you're not going back to that other agent and being like, your Uncle Fred is crazy. Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah, that's right. There's, you know, because oftentimes you are handing off to a stranger, you need to prove to them that you're credible, you're professional, you're doing everything that you can, because things can go bump. You know, there's little bumps along the road. So you want to be a credible source for the referring partner.
Agreed. And that's all I have. Does anybody else have any last minute things to chime in with?
I'm going to add everyone here on my Kelly, through Kelly to my referral network. So just you guys expect a referral request, or a request to be for the referral network.
There's our participant list. So if everybody wants to send friend list requests.
And I'm going to learn how to do it, Chris.
It's easy. Open Kelly and just put find and the person's name. Like I just punched you up and you pop right up.
Oh, good.
That's the move to make.
So it's so simple. I mean, my name's unique, so there's only one of me in KW. So
okay.
I don't know what happened.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're actually getting the request. I guess I'm typing your request right now. So.
Oh, good.
Jessica, thank you very much for today.
Yeah, that was great.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Great to see everybody.
Jessica. Appreciate it.
Mark,
You're
it was good to
welcome.
see you again.
And also so as people are starting to jump off, we did a recording of this. So I'll be able to send out the video recording to everybody afterwards. Let me make sure I
Jess,
capture
this is for you, just so you can see my little guy.
Aww.
Oh, wait, leave them up there. Let's see if I can.
Oh my
Oh, that's
gosh. So cute.
That's Leo.
Leo.
Hi, Leo.
He's passed out.
Whatever. I'm trying to sleep.
Leo. Oh my God, he's so cute.
Thank you. He's about 2. He's just turned 2.
Oh.
He's a good boy.
So cute.
All right, everyone. Thank you for joining in. This has been a great conversation. I appreciate everybody who showed up tonight. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out and have a good night.
Thanks for your
Thanks,
time,
Jess. Good night.
Jessica.
Bye.
Take
Thanks
care,
again,
everybody.
Jessica. Take care. Bye,
Happy
everybody.
holidays.
Thanks.